Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on Mitv. I am Victor Daniels. In the news, the Vice President Kashim Shettima has returned to Abuja, a highly successful diplomatic mission representing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York and concluding all strategic engagements in Germany. During the weekend-long international engagement, the Vice President delivered President Tinubu's national statement calling for comprehensive UN reforms, champion African sovereignty over its $700 billion mineral resources, and strengthening a strategic partnership with the United Kingdom, Gates Foundation, and other international stakeholders. Later, the Vice President Shettima met with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and secured his commendation for Nigeria's bid for a permanent Security Council seat. And in other engagement, he showcased the country's $200 billion energy transition opportunity to global investors. The Vice President also assured the Nigerian diaspora community of robust engagement in the President Tinubu administration's policies and program before his engagement in Germany. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has called on the National Assembly to expedite the passage of electoral law reforms to ensure adequate participation for the 2027 general election. An INEC chairman, Prof. Mahmood Yakub, made the appeal in Abuja while receiving the European Union election observation follow-up mission. He stressed that early passage of the reforms was critical for effective planning, noting that while the Commission had taken administrative steps within its mandate, there are 15 key recommendations and 5 of them are priority areas that require the involvement of the executive, legislature, judiciary, political parties, civil society, the media, and professional groups. Yakubu reaffirmed INEC's openness to international observers and added that the reports remain vital to improving the credibility and quality of Nigerian election. Earlier, the head of the EU delegation and chief observer of the 2023 mission, Barry Andrews, commended Nigerians' contributions to global democratic process and lauded INEC's progress in strengthening democratic governance. The follow-up mission held in Abuja on Thursday is to get updates on the level of implementation of their recommendations after the last general election. The mission had in July 2023 made 23 recommendations, with 8 specially directed at INEC, and while the rest were for the executive and the National Assembly.
The Commission has carefully considered all the 8 recommendations specifically addressed to us in your report. Action has been taken on aspects of the recommendations that only require administrative action to implement. Similarly, action is being taken on cross-cutting recommendations that require collective action between INEC and other bodies and stakeholders, while waiting for the conclusion of the ongoing legal review by the National on the recommendations that require legislative intervention. To this end, the Commission has prepared a detailed response of the 8 direct observations at this meeting. I must add that your recommendations, along with similar reports from other national and international election observers, were the subject of wide-ranging consultations with critical institutions and stakeholders during our own review of the 2023 general election.
The team have been deployed here for the last 3 of the mission back in 2023, and we are there are certain time constraints, both in terms of judicial reform, that the EU, that Nigeria, that overall international election observation ecosystem that has really served to buttress democracy, to support democracy, not just here in Nigeria, not just in Africa, but across.
The Federal High Court Abuja on Thursday dismissed a suit against the declaration held that the 5 plaintiffs lacked the legal power to institute the case. Justice Omotosho further held that the claim that Tinubu imposed the state of emergency to avert a looming breakdown of law and order was neither challenged nor disputed by the president did not hold water because the appropriate law on emergency rule was invoked by Tinubu to prevent an unpleasant situation. He described the case as frivolous and baseless, stating that the mandate of the people of Rivers State was not obtained before it was instituted on their behalf. He further held that none of the 5 plaintiffs claimed to be members of the State Executive Committee, members of the House of Assembly, or to have suffered any injury greater than that of the general populace of Rivers State. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has stated that the Nigerian police force is undergoing deliberate restructuring to strengthen the operations, boost intelligence gathering, improve training, and enforce accountability across all levels. This known in Abuja during the commissioning of 59 armored Toyota Hilux vehicles for special operations. He said the vehicles were acquired at a critical time when security is becoming more complex and intense, stressing that the new asset represents the determination of the police to move faster than criminals, respond stronger than troll citizens, that the force is not overwhelmed but prepared. The IGP noted that each Hilux is specially built for high-risk operations and armored against hostile fire and designed for mobility across diverse terrains. He also described the commissioning not as a routine exercise, but as a bold, strategic statement of intent against criminal elements undermining the narrative. Egbetokun added that the vehicles will be deployed to vulnerable communities to enhance mobility, improve personal safety, and strengthen the police capacity to effectively tackle security challenges. But however, in their separate remarks, the Deputy Inspector General of Police Operations, Yakub, and the Senator on Sunday, Karimi of Kogi North, assured the IGP of efficient management, maintenance, and deployment of the newly commissioned vehicles.
To those who challenge law and order in our country, this commissioning sent a direct message. The police force now has stronger tools to match determination with capacity. Criminal groups will no longer enjoy the advantage of mobility or surprise. These Hiluxes will carry our officers into contested spaces and return with results. Every operation conducted with these vehicles must be lawful, proportionate, and decisive. Tactical advantage must never become an excuse for abuse. All times that the legitimacy of the Nigerian police force rests not in force alone, but in professionalism and respect for the rule of law. This commissioning is one element in a broader plan of reform. The Nigerian police force is undergoing deliberate restructuring to strengthen operations, enhance intelligence gathering, improve training, and enforce accountability at every level. These vehicles add mobility and protection to those reforms, but they are not the end of the journey. They are a reinforcement of it. More of these Hiluxes are coming in the days ahead.
The Inspector General of Police, this is an assurance from the department that this equipment that is going to be commissioned today by your able safe will be dedicated to the tactical operational units of all the zones in order to equip the extra equipment that is already been deployed today. To this present day of these vehicles are the force multiplier. They are therefore a very clear symbol that we are moving from a reactive to a proactive and well-protected operational strategy. This will ensure the personnel, the environment, and leading to the sustained fight against kidnapping and armed banditry and form of all other violent crimes.
Because of this insurgents. And I need to be here to show solidarity to the police, especially what is happening in Kogi West today, where people are being killed, communities are being attacked. Help a lot. We serve a great deal. And that shows that the IG cares. That shows that our president, in his renewal agenda, care about the safety of our troops.
Though accreditation for 34 academic programs across 4 faculties at the newly established Federal University of Technology and Environmental Sciences in Ekiti. The FUTES said that accreditation had paved the way for the official commencement of academic activities for the 2025-26 academic session in the institution. This registrar stated that it followed a week-long facility verification exercise conducted by 4 NUs, including the Hitachi boards. He stated that the exercise was aimed at ascertaining the institution's preparedness and its capacity to deliver a world-class training in science, engineering sciences. The Vice Chancellor, Prof. Benga Arigbeshala, who described it as a milestone that affirms the university's readiness to provide a 21st century education. He encouraged administration seekers to change their preferred institutions to FUTES on the JAM portal, assuring that admission would strictly be based on merit. And the Lagos State government has identified textile and fashion waste in Lagos that raise a lack of public awareness on the dangers of textile waste in the environment. Our correspondent Fatoki Kunle compiles the details in this report presented from our studio.
It's the 2025 World Cleanup Day, a global movement that goes beyond picking up trash to confront the waste crisis head-on, and this year's focus is on textile and fashion waste, one of the most visible and fast-growing environmental challenges. Already, the fashion industry generates 92 million tons of textile waste
to the environment. So them recognizing us as part of those completing their circle to ensure so need to come up and collaborate with us. Martin Landa also do a lot. We go into the communities, we go to sensitize, we need a partnership and collaboration in that aspect.
Towards this direction, top officials of the Lagos State Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources and experts on the environment converge on waste, focusing on the growing crisis of textile waste generated by the global fashion industry. The state government said the event was aimed to promote sustainable waste and highlight the environmental impact of fashion waste.
Circular fashion practices offer a promising solution by reducing waste, promoting sustainability, and encouraging eco-friendly fashion products. Therefore, let us work together on fashion waste. Let us adopt circular fashion practices. Let us raise awareness and educate consumers, designers, and policymakers about the importance of circular fashion practices. And let us jointly drive the industry change that will encourage brands to adopt circular practices and invest in sustainable textile materials.
Fashion waste. It's what people we think that this is waste, and what is being presented to us now is that it's a multi-billion naira industry that people can take and become rich from doing these things, from taking those waste and reprocessing it and redirecting it to better use. And that gives you more energy, more outlook, more better way, and it saves the environment.
Awareness is very key. If people are not aware of something, definitely they won't be conscious of it. As we're advocating today to ensure that this kind of waste they are generating has value, and for us is to ensure that people embrace culture of innovation, that things that people are throwing away add value.
Other stakeholders advocated for innovation in converting textile waste into useful products in view of the damaging impacts of textile waste, which fuels the triple plane tree crisis as it clogs drains and worsens urban floods, pollutes rivers and oceans, harms biodiversity, and releases greenhouse gases that drive climate change.
To make Lagos State clean. And we learned a lot of lessons there, how to be able to be using the remaining pieces of fabric. You know, we are using fabric to cover chairs. The remaining of the fabric, they teach us how to use it for another thing.
Going about the program, we know that in fact it's a really good program, which we know that stepping in right from now, we are going to achieve a lot, because it might have saved a lot of waste, and as well, it's a plus to us.
Government has unanimously made renewed calls for collaboration between government, artisans, and the private sector due to how fashion waste contributes to environmental degradation and how circular fashion can drive change, create.
Environmental engineers have raised a great concern about Lagos' severe sewage problem, which involves millions of cubic meters of untreated water, wastewater, daily contaminating waterways and groundwater, poisoning a significant health risk, including waterborne diseases, and contributing to flooding. And at the monthly technical session of the Nigerian Institution of Environmental Engineers, the Lagos State chapter, a former national chairman of the institution, see at the core issues which he said were massive deficit in wastewater treatment infrastructure, rapid population growth, outstreams were huge deficits in the infrastructure needed to treat the massive volume of wastewater, raw untreated wastewater daily into the environment, and particularly into water bodies like the lagoon and the groundwater. This is apart from Lagos' rapidly growing population, which places immense pressure on existing systems, leading to ever-increasing volumes of wastewater, groundwater contamination. Dukoya, with the active involvement of professionals and the media.
Most of our groundwater are already polluted from that out and everywhere in our environment. You will see from the account that there's no clean water in that comes from our to our well again. Sometimes when you take water from your well, you will see either the water is smelly, or had a color or something. How come? Not knowing that your septic tank is already has emptied himself into your groundwater. So we professionals is already planned to engage most communities and CDAs so that they will know that what the implications of what they are doing from time to time. So we need to quickly, as media house, needs also to be shouting to the people. It's not clean. Watch before you drink. It's not water you can just take and drink.
And environmental engineers described the ban on single-use plastics as a crucial step for environmental protection and a move towards sustainability. He, however, stressed the need for a strict enforcement and the creation of more jobs in eco-friendly alternatives to offset a potential economic impact from the enforcement on the ban, which started on July the 1st. Biodegradable items like food packs, plastic straws, plastic cups and cutleries, and lightweight nylon bags aiming to reduce pollution in Lagos' coastal environment. He said the ban was essential for combating plastic pollution, as plastics often blocks drainage.
The enforcement have started. However, there is still a long way to go, both from the government side and from the citizens. It's important for every one of us to respond to the call because it is in our own interest. Maybe we can do more, but in terms of awareness, when you go to some supermarkets, some stores to buy items, you will note, what we'll probably notice that they don't issue some of those single-use plastic, nylon bags and all that. That shows that there is a level of compliance. And that also shows that, yes, we are progressing in the right direction. However, we all definitely have to respond accordingly and follow suit. Out. It's important, and it is in our best interest.
And we now take a short break. Where we'll come back. We'll give you some more reports.
Good evening and welcome to the greatest show on earth. This is a people's game. They will be bubbling about this one for weeks and months to come. Let's go! Lights, camera, action. Put your mind to it, live the life that you remember.
Starting from Yanga and Jolly.
Welcome back. The chairman of the Oyo State Youth Development Agency, Prince Adebowale Falana, has charged the newly inaugurated executive of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, Oyo State Chapter, for the good image of the youth organization. Prince Adebowale Falana made this call at the 2025 State Elective Congress of the Council, held at the Western Hall, Oyo State Secretariat, and prepared to deliver a transparent and accountable administration that will reflect the vision of Governor Seyi Makinde. The electoral officer, Comrade Ayo Babalala, described an fair election in National Youth Council, Oyo State Chapter history, and urged the new executive to put the interests of the council first. A newly elected chairman Eniola Oluwatimilei Alex appreciated Governor Makinde and stakeholders for ensuring a peaceful Congress. He pledged to reform the Youth Council, restructure the 7 zones of the state, and roll out economic empowerment programs that will serve as a mouthpiece for all youth organizations. As political activities intensify ahead of the forthcoming gubernatorial election in Ekiti State, one of the younger brothers of the former governor, Ayodele Fayose Emmanuel, has dumped the People's Democratic Party (PDP. He announced that he is now pitching his tent with the African Democratic Congress. His defection is regarded as a significant political move that could reshape alignments within the state's political landscape. Leaders and stakeholders of the ADC have welcomed him into their fold.
A member of PDP anymore. I stopped being a member of PDP about 2 weeks ago. PDP is dead. Our leaders, former leaders in PDP, they have sold the party. Government, I will rate it below average in terms of development, in terms of roads are bad. You can see for yourself. We don't need the second bridge. Come on, we don't need that. The airport is under lock and they're not sharing our money.
I won't say just the party knows him. I will say the state knows him. So if such an individual is coming to our party, I think it's God answering our prayers, because ADC has come to rescue the state. It has come to rescue Nigeria. And our prayer to God is that we should keep on having not just crowd, but get prominent people into our midst, which we have done today.
Still from Ekiti, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) Congress in the state has ended in controversy following allegations of electoral irregularities and procedural breaches. The chairmanship aspirant, Barrister Sunday Ololafe, accused the party of manipulating the process and sidelining a legitimate delegate after losing to the former acting governor Tunji Odeyemi by 290 to 936 votes. Odeyemi admitted that the process wasn't perfect, but said that most positions were decided by consensus. Meanwhile, the PDP Board of Trustees members, Michael Oke, urged unity and vowed the party would challenge the ruling party in upcoming elections. Let's take a short break. When we'll come back, we'll take the news and the foreign stories.
Seasons, the Eye.
Welcome back in the foreign scene. At least 20 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks since dawn across Gaza as Israel threatened tens of thousands remaining in Gaza City with a forced order to leave and saying it was their last opportunity to terrorists and terror supporters. The continuous bombardment of Gaza City has raised the territory's target urban center, killing dozens of people daily, destroying numerous residential buildings and schools. To the south, often targeted on the way. And reports say the Israeli military ordered people south with military choppers, drones and tanks, creating a mayhem and panic. And on Thursday, a child was killed by Israeli drone fire in the Ansar area, the west of Gaza City, according to the emergency and ambulance service. Meanwhile, the dozens of activists, including Swedish climate campaigner Greta Thunberg, have been detained by Israeli forces after a flotilla carrying aid bound of Gaza was intercepted. Israeli Foreign Ministry said that several were in international waters about 70 nautical miles off the Gaza coast. Israel has been policing this area but does not have jurisdiction there. But Israel said that its Navy had told the boats to change course as there was zone in violating a lawful naval blockade. The GSF described the interceptions as illegal and not an act of defense, but a brazen act of desperation. The group has alleged that one vessel within the flotilla was deliberately rammed at sea and said additional boats were hit by water cannon. The police in United Kingdom have confirmed that three people died following an attack outside a synagogue in the north of Manchester, including the suspected perpetrators who were released in what they have described as a terror act. The Metropolitan Police ahead of a counter-terrorism policing assistant commissioner, Lawrence Taylor, said that 2 people have been arrested over the attack and adding that there was no ongoing risk to the public following on Thursday's violence. The Greater Manchester Police initially said in a series of posts on X that they were called to the Hidden Park Hebrew congregation, a synagogue in Crumpsall, shortly after 9 rammed into people and that 1 man had been stabbed. A bomb disposal unit had been called and was at the scene, it said, and adding that 3 other people remain in a serious condition. And by 9:41 a.m., paramedics had arrived at the scene, tending to 4 people with injuries caused by both the vehicles and stab wounds. The police said in X that they had declared a plateau the national code word used by emergency services when responding to what they described as a marauding terror attack. Rescuers detected no more signs of life at the collapsed Indonesian school, where 59 it gave away. An official said on Thursday, raising fears that no more survivors would be found. In part of the multi-story boarding school on the main island of Java suddenly collapsed on Monday as students gathered for afternoon prayers. 13 people have been freed from the debris since rescue efforts began, but though 2 later died in hospital, rescue operations had been challenging due to the unstable structure of the building. And on Thursday, the Disaster Mitigation Agency said the rescuers using thermal drones failed to detect signs of life from rubble. Authorities have said the crying and shouting could still be heard from under the rubble as anxious families are waiting at the school, many of them tearful but holding out hope that their loved ones are still alive. A Tesla bus, Elon Musk has become the first person ever to achieve a net worth of more than $500 billion as the value of electric car companies have risen this year. The tech magnate's net worth briefly reached $500.1 billion on Wednesday afternoon, a New York Times, before dipping slightly to just over $499 billion later in the day. The Forbes Billionaires Index reported, and alongside Tesla, valuation of his other ventures, including the artificial intelligence startup and rocket company SpaceX, have also reported climbed in recent months. The milestone further cements Musk's status as the world's richest person, well ahead of rivals in the global tech sector. We'll now take a short break. Where we'll come back. We'll take some stories in sports. The Chief of Defense Staff CDS, General Christopher Musa, has commended the high level of competition and enthusiasm among teams participating in the ongoing Chief of Defense Staff Unity Basketball Championship taking place in Lagos. And during the day's event at the Indoor Sports Hall of the National Stadium, the special guest of honor, Major General Henry Tafida Corps, commander of the Nigerian Army Ordnance Corps, highlighted the dedication and energy displayed by the participating teams. He emphasized the critical role of Nigerian youth, the nation's largest demographic, in shaping the country's narrative, particularly through the achievement and which continue to earn a global recognition and national pride. The former Deputy Commandant of the Nigerian Armed Forces Resettlement Center, Major General Martins Obiora Enendu, underscored the importance of sports in fostering discipline, teamwork, and resilience among young people. The championship featured 12 teams representing Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Osun, Ondo, and Ekiti states, with guest teams from Edo and Delta states. The tournament continues on Thursday at the Indoor Sports Hall of the Taslim Balogun Stadium, Surulere, Lagos. Crystal Palace have reportedly identified two potential replacements for Captain Maguire amidst uncertainty over his future at Selhurst Park. The 25-year-old is out of contract in June 2026, and it is widely expected that the Eagles will lose their star defender either for a cut price fee in January or for free in summer. Guehi was close to completing a €35 million move champions Liverpool on the final day of the summer transfer window, and only for Palace to pull the plug at the 11th hour after they were unable to sign a replacement. Chairman Steve Parish initially gave the green light to Guehi's late summer departure, as he was determined not to lose the England international on a free transfer, but the head coach Oliver Glasner allegedly threatened to leave the club if his captain was sold. Problems as pressure amounts on the sports authorities to sanction Israel. A United Nations Commission of Inquiry concluded last month that Israel has committed a genocide against Palestinians in Gaza, and Israel's participation in football was not included as a formal item on the agenda of a FIFA Council meeting held. In talking tennis, Novak Djokovic says on Thursday that talk about reorganizing the tennis schedule has been going for at least 15 years, and his fellow players are still not united enough. The amount of tennis in the elite play was thrust back into the spotlight this week, and there were a raft of tech all took aim at the tennis calendar this week and ruled against the number of tournaments they play. And speaking in Shanghai, where Djokovic lost in last year's final to Jannik Sinner, the Serbian Greek said that it was a very complex and similar lanes that had been going on for years, but to no avail. And the defending champion Coco Gauff brushed aside and seed executive China Open semi-final. The 21-year-old won 6-3, 6-4, and the world number 3 next plays the U.S. Open finalist Amanda Anisimova in an All-American affair in Beijing. And after an event start to the quarterfinal, Gauff began to seize control, winning the first set and ever a top 10 win, but beating the reigning French Open champion was a step too far. And that's where we'll draw the curtain on tonight's news. Good night.
pààrọ̀ gbogbo ènìyàn ẹ bá mi kíra fún ìyá. Ìyá mi, màmá mi, yèyé mi, mo fẹ́ràn rẹ. Ìyá mi, màmá mi, yèyé mi, mo ṣe tìrẹ. Ìyá mi, ìyá mi, màmá mi, yèyé mi, mo fẹ́ràn rẹ. Ìyá mi, màmí, yèyé mi, mo ṣe tìrẹ. You sacrifice your meal for me to eat. You sacrifice your sleep for me to sleep. You sacrifice your time to take care of me, mama. You sacrifice your comfort to make me